This is a video I really wish I didn't need to make, but more people need to be talking about it, which is the darker side to spirituality and what you need to be aware of is out there, as well as the more painful side of a spiritual awakening, to which they really do go together. So to anybody who's never been here before, hi, I'm Elizabeth Blackwell from Blissful Home and Body, and I've spent well over the last decade of my life so that I can help others set sacred space and get to their highest and greatest self. So let's get into it. Being on a spiritual awakening is one of the most rewarding things that we can go through on this journey that we call life. But anybody who tries to tell you that it's all sunshine and roses is either trying to sell you something or falling into more of that spiritual narcissist side. So to start this video out, I just want to get into some of the more darker or painful sides that you will likely experience as you start to have this spiritual awakening. A lot of times, people will kind of lump these together and give them specific titles. So whether you want to call it dark night of the soul, shadow work, ego death, the titles don't really matter, but it's understanding that some of these more painful things may come up along your journey. And so the first area that I just want to tap into is that as you go within and as you start to tap into that true and authentic side of yourself, a lot of your inner wounding will likely come up or start to bubble to the surface. And this is for a purpose. This is so, one, you can understand that it's there, and so you can deal with it and then eventually let it go. This can be anything from early childhood drama or trauma to things that happened yesterday or even an hour ago. And this can be anything from things that were put upon us or come from outside sources to the more damaging or tumultuous things that we've done to ourselves. But to understand that that wounding is there and that it will likely start to come to the surface as you go within. So the second area that I want to touch upon here is letting go of our false self. Again, this is a lot of times termed as an ego death, but how you phrase it doesn't really matter. But this is confronting and releasing who we thought we were or thought that we should be. That a lot of times the rest of the world has put upon us what it or we think that we should be. But as you go within and understand who your true and authentic self is, then you will understand that that's not really you. And so you have to, again, confront and then eventually release that false sense of self. The third area that can be a bit more painful as we are on this spiritual journey is when we start to delve into our more shadow side. Now, the phrase shadow self was a term that was coined by psychiatrist Carl Jung back in the early 1940s. And this is in reference to any side of ourselves that we try to repress, either from ourselves or from the rest of the world. This can be things like anger, selfishness, lust, aggression, but it's those sides of ourselves that maybe we're not as proud to admit are there. Or sometimes we can admit they're there, but we do not want to have that be open to the rest of the world. So as we go on this journey, and again, we start to understand who our true and authentic self is, that we have to come to terms with that shadow side of ourselves. Now, this is different from our wounding. Our shadow side are things that we are trying to repress, as opposed to our wounding, which is more areas of our life that we need to deal with. The next area that can be pretty painful along our journey is that feeling of isolation and loneliness. I actually just did an entire video, and I'll link it up here, about why we go through those isolation and lonely phases and why they're actually a good thing. But at the same time, that's not always the most fun part, that we can feel very lonely and like there's not a lot of individuals for us to connect to as we discover who we really are and go along this spiritual journey. I'm going to kind of link these next two together, which are life transitions and letting go of attachments. As we go through the spiritual journey or the life's journey overall, there can be a lot of life transitions, from changing of relationships, changing of careers, changing of our surroundings, all of those sorts of things. But we also have to let go of attaching onto things that we once did, whether that is our beliefs, control of outcomes, or sometimes material things that no longer serve. But going through these processes and understanding that there will be a lot of life transitions or changes around us, and that we need to let go of things that maybe we once attached onto. And then the last area of kind of more painful side of things is sometimes, now this doesn't happen to everyone, but sometimes as we go through energetic shifts, that we can actually have physical symptoms as energy shifts through our body. And that's not always a fun process. Now, again, I am not a doctor, so if you have any sort of physical abnormality that doesn't feel right to you, get it checked out. But also understand that as we lift our vibration and travel down the spiritual journey, that sometimes different things, from muscle aches to increased fatigue to headaches to all sorts of random weird things, can pop up. They're sometimes known as ascension symptoms, but understanding that those things may pop up along the way. And if there's no physical reason tying back to why you're having those symptoms, that it is likely just an energetic shift in your body as you are upgrading and becoming your highest and greatest self. So then this kind of segues into what I am just kind of phrasing as the darker side of spirituality, which I am just wanting to be a cautionary tale, so that you can understand as you're going through this journey that sometimes there are individuals out there who will prey upon the more sensitive side of this journey, to be whether they are trying to get money out of you or feeding their own spiritual narcissistic side, things along those lines. But anybody who wants to make you believe that this journey is only light and love, that there is no more painful or darker side to understanding. This is a journey about finding the truth of who you are, why you are here, and the reality of the universe around you. And it's not always that beautiful picture that we want to believe it to be. So just be aware of any individual who wants to tell you that these things don't exist, that there are incredible teachers out there. I have certainly had some myself, but that this is a journey about you. And this is a journey about going within and figuring out your place in the universe. And nobody out there can tell you exactly how it's going to go or exactly what to expect. So I hope this video served you well and didn't scare you away from anything along your spiritual path, because it is about getting to that highest and greatest self and building that life that you love and will love to live in. But there are some things that I just wanted to make you aware of. If this video helped you out in any way, please hit that like button, as it really does help out small channels like this. And if you feel like you resonate here, please think about subscribing and joining this community, as we are all about lifting each other up and helping each other to get to our highest and greatest self. So with that, I will say that I am sending you all so much light and love, and I hope you all stay well, my friends.